screen there. So this is the this is a little market radar going into Friday, and this actually goes out until probably early next week. Normally I do them on Friday. I might do another one tomorrow. Actually, I think after tomorrow we're gonna get a feel for what's going on here in the news wise. We ended up, and again, to recap, last market radar we talked about was on Friday, going into the early part of this week and expecting some news to maybe, jingle up this market. And we got that news. That news played out the last 2 days between Comey and the Russian, investigation. There's just been a lot of pressure on the market, and at one point you could feel it. You could feel the ball starting to roll. I think we noticed that on the radio, while we were watching or doing the show live during the day. We started noticing that this news seems to be picking up speed. It was picking up some momentum, and we sold off pretty good into that. Now, did take some puts right before that, and they played out great. We took those off, and I'm still holding some. That expired tomorrow, and this is kind of the difficult thing. We're a little out of the money. It's down a little, but if we get a further move down, it'll be a good trade. I also picked up some SPY puts going out to next week, and they've been holding actually pretty good strength. I've been watching them perform today. I think we're right on again, kind of a hedge here. Now let me just tell you what I'm thinking on news-wise. I think this market is waiting for some news. Once news clears up, this market heads right back up. So when you deal with maybe a technical analysis of the markets, and you're trying to do that around news, it becomes more difficult, because any type of news could break down a pattern very easily. We had this gap that played out perfectly. Big shout out to Paul for monitoring and calling out that gap. And we had a gap on the S&P, came right down to it, closed it right here. We also had that on the futures. And then here's the bounce. We got the oversold level, and we got a nice bounce today. And there's also a small little trend line down here on the daily. It's not my favorite one, but it's a minor trend line here. It goes from that little pivot to this pivot to this pivot, and we're seeming to hold on to that level. So right now, I honestly believe that news rules this market. If we don't have any news, we're going to move higher tomorrow. If there's anything out there that's damaging, you'll know about that. The market will know that. Then we're going to sell off. So, is there enough news? Are they going to keep the ball rolling tonight? No, I don't think so. I honestly think that that we probably get to the weekend without any more news, and I think that's going to cause the market to rally into the weekend. And you might think, well, people don't want to be long of a weekend. Well, just let's see. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Again, difficult when it comes to news, but I think if there's no news out there, I think we move higher. Now, technically speaking, this was a divergence. This was a daily divergence, and the big thing again. The question is, what came first, the chicken or the egg, or what came first? Did the move happen because of news, or did it happen because of the divergence already predicted a downward move? We saw that higher high and that lower high. That usually tells us that the market's going to change direction. Now we got a gap down, and it was news-based gap down. But how much of it was it news? How much was it a technical breakdown? How much? And I'll tell you one thing, that daily is taking its own sweet time getting down here. That's interesting. The 60 here is a little bit more reactive and faster in the rotations, but that daily here still kind of has a little negative look to it. So that's on the S&P, and that's everything that's happening right now. Just to kind of go over one thing that happened today, we actually had a couple good signals today. We had a nice little divergence right here. It was really the first real good divergence we could see, and that happened right after a super signal. Now it moved down, super signal divergence. It got a nice pop, but it failed right away. Again, going into the last 10 minutes of the trade, that's closing in balance. Just a wave of orders coming in as positions are closed out in the last 10 minutes. So we never rely on this type of pattern just because of this, what can happen like this. And we had some strength earlier. Went through the blue, which is the tradeometer, and then from that point on, this was a good this was a good sell signal. It flagged out. When we talk about a tradeometer sell signal, whenever you have a tradeometer sell signal and you have a right after it, and you have a triple stochastic flag setup, that trumps that. That means that, all right, this is the top of the flag, this is signaling where you need to get in, and then that's the trade. So this followed by this is an upside move. This, again, you don't want to have the sign of strength was a slow stochastic here. Great sign, nice rotation. And the important part is holding that 20-period moving average. The more you hold that, the cleaner it is, the better the move. And then we had a nice sell signal here, and everything else actually was pretty good. The signals we pay attention to, the criteria that we follow for a trade identification worked pretty good. But it was some overshoots, and I definitely, the volatility picked up. It takes time for things to kind of get back into sync, and that's where we are right now. So that's the radar going into the next couple of days. News does rule. No news. I think we move a little bit higher. If this finally gets squashed, these investigations get squashed, the market here has has a good shot of actually just getting right back up to the highs. As long as there's an investigation there, we might stall out. We might go sideways. But when that press release comes out and says, "All right, we're going to hold a press conference. We're going to say that there was no collusion, whatever," the market's going to rally. If it appears that that's the way things are going, that probably we'll price that in. We'll probably see the market move on that also. Well, until then, we'll see you in the markets tomorrow, Friday, with Paul on the mic. I'll be in the room. All right, let me send this out on the way. This is a little market radar. And I just did that live with you guys. I'm going to stop it and send it on the way. DayTraderRadio.com, just in case.